The first thing you need to understand about my wife, Lianne, is that she never just spoke. She delivered verdicts. Standing in our kitchen that Tuesday evening, watching her dismiss her younger sister Paige with the casual cruelty of someone swatting a fly, I realized I'd been living with a judge who'd already sentenced me. "You're as much of a loser as my husband," Lianne said, not even looking up from her phone as she scrolled through her cosmetic sales dashboard. "You can take him." Paige's face crumpled like paper. She'd been showing us her latest graphic design project, some community outreach poster she'd been excited about. Now she just stood there, holding her laptop, looking like she wanted to disappear into the hardwood floor. "I'm Lianne Porter, 37, municipal project manager for the city of Cedar Rapids. I coordinate infrastructure projects, manage budgets, deal with contractors who think timelines are suggestions. It's steady work, decent pay, nothing glamorous. Apparently, nothing worthy of respect either. Lianne Porter, my wife of 8 years, sells high-end cosmetics online. She's built quite the business, actually. Designer lipsticks that cost more than my lunch budget for a week. She's 34, blonde, sharp-featured, and has perfected the art of making people feel small with just a look. Paige is 32, Lianne's younger sister, a freelance graphic designer who struggles to find steady clients. She's got the same blonde hair as Lianne, but softer features, kinder eyes. She'd driven over to show us her work, maybe hoping for some encouragement from family. Instead, she got a masterclass in humiliation. "Lianne," I said quietly, setting down my coffee mug. "That's enough." "Oh, please." Lianne finally looked up, her green eyes cold as winter. "You're going to defend her? When's the last time either of you accomplished anything worth mentioning?" Paige closed her laptop with shaking hands. "I should go." "No," I said, surprising myself with the firmness in my voice. "You shouldn't. You came here to share something you're proud of. Lianne, apologize." Lianne laughed, actually laughed. "Apologize? For what? Telling the truth? Look around, Evan. Look at this house, these clothes, that car in the driveway. Who do you think paid for all this? My little hobby business, while you push papers around City Hall?" The house was nice, I'll give her that. 3-bedroom colonial in a good neighborhood. But I'd put down the down payment with my savings, and my salary covered the mortgage. Her business income was, well, that was becoming an interesting question. "Your business is doing well," I acknowledged. "But that doesn't give you the right to..." "To what? Be honest? Paige hasn't held a real job in 2 years. You're stuck in middle management with no prospects. I'm the only one in this family with any ambition." Paige stood up abruptly. "I really should go." "Stay," I said again, but she was already grabbing her purse. "Thanks for the coffee, Evan," she said softly, not looking at Lianne. I'll see you later." After Paige left, the kitchen felt poisonous. Lianne went back to her phone like nothing had happened. I watched her for a moment, this woman I'd married, this stranger who lived in my house and shared my bed, but apparently had nothing but contempt for me. "We need to talk," I said. "About what? You want me to pretend that your sister-in-law isn't a failure? That you're some kind of success story? I'm building something real here, Evan. I'm making connections, growing a business, creating opportunities. What are you doing, managing pothole repairs?" "I manage a lot more than potholes, but explaining municipal infrastructure to someone who'd already decided you're worthless seemed pointless. Instead, I asked, "What connections?" Something flickered across her face, too quick to identify, but it was there. Business connections, suppliers, other entrepreneurs, people who understand ambition. Like who? Like Mitch Dorsett, for one. He owns 3 gyms now, looking to expand into wellness products. He understands what it takes to build something. Mitch Dorsett. I'd heard that name before, usually when Lianne came home late from business meetings. Tall guy, all shoulders and teeth, who sold protein supplements and lifestyle coaching to people with more money than sense. You've been spending a lot of time with Mitch, I observed. It's called networking, Evan. Something you might try instead of hiding behind your desk at City Hall. That night, lying in bed while Lianne scrolled through her phone beside me, I stared at the ceiling and wondered when exactly my marriage had become a performance review I kept failing. The next morning, I found something interesting on Lianne's nightstand. A gold watch. Expensive looking, definitely not mine. When I picked it up, I could see an engraving on the back. To Mitch, all my love, L. I set it down carefully, exactly where I'd found it. Lianne was in the shower, singing some pop song, completely carefree. I sat on the edge of the bed, looking at that watch, and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not heartbreak. That would come later. This was something else. Clarity, maybe. When Lianne came out, towel wrapped around her, she glanced at the nightstand and froze for just a second. Then she grabbed the watch and slipped it into her jewelry box like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Running late," she said brightly. "Big meeting today with some potential distributors." "With Mitch?" "Among others." She was getting dressed quickly now, not meeting my eyes. "Don't wait up tonight. These things can run long." After she left, I called my old friend Davy Jones. Davy used to be a cop, now works as a private investigator. We've known each other since high school, stayed in touch through the years. "Evan," he said when he answered. "Been a while. What's going on?" "I need some advice," I said. "Hypothetically speaking, if someone wanted to know whether their spouse was having an affair, what would be the best way to find out?" Long pause. "Hypothetically?" "Let's go with that for now." "Hypothetically, I'd say the person should be very careful about what they're looking for. Sometimes you find things you can't unfind. You sure you want to go down this road?" I looked at Lianne's jewelry box, thinking about that watch, about late nights and business meetings, and the way she'd looked at me last night, like I was something she'd stepped in. "Yeah," I said. "I'm sure." Davy met me at Murphy's bar on Thursday evening. It's the kind of place where municipal workers go to complain about city council meetings and forget about budget shortfalls. Dark wood, dim lighting, and bartenders who mind their own business. "You look like hell," Davy said, sliding into the booth across from me. "Thanks. Really what I needed to hear." Davy's in his early 40s, gray at the temples, with the kind of steady gaze that comes from years of asking uncomfortable questions. He ordered a beer. I stuck with coffee. Needed to stay sharp. "So," he said, "hypothetically speaking, what's going on?" I told him about the watch, about Mitch Dorset, about Lianne's increasingly frequent business meetings, about the way she'd been treating me, treating Paige, like we were obstacles to her success rather than family. "How long has this been going on?" Davy asked. "The meetings? Few months. The attitude? Longer, but it's gotten worse lately. More dismissive, more cruel. Like she's already checked out, but hasn't bothered to tell me." Davy pulled out a small notebook, started jotting things down. "Mitch Dorset, you said? I know that name. Owns some gyms, right? Bit of a reputation as a player. What kind of reputation?" "The kind where wives should probably keep their distance." Davy looked up from his notes. "You want me to check this out officially?" I thought about it. Once I said yes, there'd be no going back. Right now, I could still pretend the watch was innocent, that the late nights were really about business, that my wife was just going through a rough patch rather than planning her exit strategy. "Yeah," I said. "I need to know. It'll take a few days. I'll be discreet, but if there's something to find, I'll find it." The next morning, Lianne was already gone when I woke up. She'd left a note. "Early meeting. Don't wait up tonight either. Big opportunities happening." I made coffee, ate breakfast alone, and tried to focus on work. Had a meeting with the Parks Department about playground equipment, another with Public Works about street repairs. Normal stuff, the kind of steady, unglamorous work that keeps a city functioning. Around lunch, my phone buzzed. Text from Paige. Thanks for standing up for me the other night. Want to grab coffee sometime? I stared at the message for a long moment. Paige had always been kind, always been genuine. Lianne treated her like a burden, but I'd always enjoyed her company. She was creative, thoughtful, had a dry sense of humor that reminded me of myself. Sure, I texted back. How about tomorrow? Murphy's Cafe, noon? Perfect. See you then. That evening, Lianne came home after 10, smelling like expensive cologne that definitely wasn't mine. She was in a good mood, almost giddy. How was your meeting? I asked. Amazing. Really amazing. Mitch thinks we can triple my sales volume in the next 6 months. He's got connections I never even dreamed of. That's great. I watched her face as she talked about Mitch, the way her eyes lit up, the way she smiled. I'd seen that expression before, years ago, when she used to talk about me like that. You don't sound excited, she said. I am. It's just, we never talk about us anymore. About our plans, our future. It's always about the business now. Lianne's expression shifted, became guarded. The business is our future, Evan. At least it's mine. I can't help it if you don't have the vision to see the possibilities. What's that supposed to mean? It means some people are content to stay small, stay safe, stay stuck, and some people want more. She went upstairs without another word. I sat in the living room, listening to her move around in the bedroom above, and felt like a stranger in my own house. The next day, meeting Paige for coffee felt like stepping into sunlight after being underground. She was already there when I arrived, sitting by the window with her laptop open, working on some design project. Sorry, she said, closing the laptop. Timeline crunch. Don't apologize for working. How's business? Slow but steady. Got a few regular clients now, some nonprofit work. Nothing that would impress Lianne, but it pays the bills. We ordered coffee and settled into conversation. Paige was easy to talk to. She listened, asked thoughtful questions, didn't make me feel like every word had to be justified or defended. Can I ask you something? She said after a while. Sure. Are you okay? I mean, really okay? Because the other night, the way Lianne talked to you, that's not normal, Evan. That's not how people who love each other talk. I stirred my coffee, considering how much to say. Things have been difficult lately. How difficult? Something in her tone made me look up. Her expression was serious, concerned in a way that felt genuine. When was the last time someone had looked at me like that? Like what I was feeling actually mattered? Pretty difficult, I admitted. We talked for 2 hours, about work, about family, about dreams and disappointments. Paige told me about her struggles to build her design business, about feeling overshadowed by Lianne's success and confidence. I told her about feeling invisible in my own marriage, about wondering when I'd become the enemy instead of the partner. You're not a loser, Paige said as we were getting ready to leave. You're kind, you're smart, you care about people. Lianne's lucky to have you. Doesn't feel that way lately. Maybe the problem isn't you. That evening, Davy called. We need to meet, he said. Tonight. Same place as before. I found him in the same booth, but this time he looked grim. He had a manila folder on the table, photographs spilling out of it. I'm sorry, Evan, he said, but you were right to be suspicious. The photographs told the story clearly. Lianne and Mitch entering a hotel together, kissing in the parking lot behind his gym, her car parked outside his apartment building overnight. How long? I asked. Best I can tell, about 3 months, maybe longer. They're not being particularly careful about it. I studied the photos, feeling oddly detached, like I was looking at strangers, not my wife and her lover. Anything else? Yeah. Davy pulled out some financial documents. I did some digging into their business relationship. Turns out your wife's been moving money around. Separate accounts, cash transactions, income that's not showing up on your joint tax returns. How much money? Hard to say exactly, but significantly more than she's been reporting. She's been building a nest egg, Evan, getting ready to fly. I leaned back in the booth, processing it all. The affair was one thing, painful, but not entirely surprising given how our relationship had deteriorated. But the financial deception felt like a deeper betrayal. She'd been planning her exit while treating me like the problem in our marriage. "What are you going to do?" Davy asked. "I don't know yet, but I'm going to need copies of everything." "Already made them." He slid the folder across the table. "Whatever you decide, be smart about it. Don't do anything that'll hurt you in divorce proceedings." Divorce proceedings. The words hung in the air like smoke. A week ago, I'd been married to someone I thought I knew. Now, I was planning for a future that didn't include her. "Thanks, Davy. I owe you." "You don't owe me anything. Just take care of yourself." I drove home with the folder on the passenger seat, evidence of my wife's betrayal sitting next to me like a passenger I hadn't invited but couldn't ignore. The weekend was surreal. Lianne acted like nothing had changed, chatting about her business plans over breakfast, complaining about her sister's lack of ambition, making casual comments about my boring job. I played along, nodding and responding, all while knowing exactly where she'd been Thursday night and with whom. Saturday afternoon, she announced she was going shopping with her friends Jessica and Morgan, two women who shared her taste for expensive things and casual cruelty. They'd been friends since college, enablers who encouraged each other's worst impulses. "Don't wait up," Lianne said, kissing my cheek with lips that had been on another man. "Girls' night might run late." After she left, I called Paige. "Want to help me with something?" I asked. "Sure. What kind of something?" "I'm working on a community project proposal. Could use a designer's eye." She arrived an hour later with her laptop and a thermos of coffee. We spread out on the dining room table, blueprints, budget sheets, timeline documents. The project was real, a new playground and community center for the east side of town, an area that had been neglected for too long. "This is amazing," Paige said, studying the plans. "You designed all this?" "It's my job, though most people seem to think I just shuffle papers around." "Most people are idiots." She looked up from the documents. "This is going to change lives, Evan. Kids will have a safe place to play. Families will have somewhere to gather. This matters." Working with Paige felt natural, collaborative. She had ideas for the visual presentation, suggestions for community outreach, insights I hadn't considered. We ordered pizza, kept working, lost track of time. Around 10, Lianne came home. She found us in the dining room, papers everywhere, Paige's laptop open to a design mock-up. "Well?" Lianne said, her voice sharp with something I couldn't quite identify. "Isn't this cozy?" "We're working on Evan's community project," Paige explained. "It's really impressive." "I'm sure it is." Lianne's smile was cold. "Though I'm surprised you have time for this, Paige. Don't you have paying work to do?" The cruelty was casual, automatic. Paige's face flushed, but she kept her voice steady. "I'm helping a friend." "How nice for you both." Lianne's gaze moved between us, calculating. "Evan, can I speak with you? Privately?" In the kitchen, Lianne's mask slipped completely. "What exactly is going on here?" she demanded. "We're working on a project, like she said." "Don't play dumb with me. My sister here, in our house, working late into the night with my husband. How do you think that looks?" The irony was staggering. "How do you think it looks when you spend every evening with Mitch Dorset?" Something flickered in her eyes, surprise, maybe fear, but she recovered quickly. "That's business." "Right, business." "Are you accusing me of something?" I looked at my wife, this woman who'd been lying to me for months, who was planning to leave me while treating me like the villain in our story, and felt something settle inside me. A decision, maybe, or just acceptance of what was already inevitable. "I'm not accusing you of anything," I said quietly. "I'm just observing that you seem very concerned about appearances for someone who spends so much time working late with male colleagues." She stared at me for a long moment, then turned and walked away. "Tell your sister goodbye," she called over her shoulder. "It's getting late." When I returned to the dining room, Paige was already packing up her laptop. "I should go," she said. "You don't have to. We weren't finished." "It's okay. I can work on the designs at home, email you the files." She paused at the door. "Evan, be careful." "What do you mean?" "I mean, Lianne's not stupid. She knows something's changing, and she doesn't like it. Just be careful." Sunday morning, I called Butch Reed, a divorce attorney I'd met through work. We'd collaborated on some municipal legal issues, and I respected his straightforward approach. "Evan," he said when his secretary put me through, "what can I do for you?" "I need some advice. Confidential advice. Personal or professional?" "Personal, very personal." We met Monday afternoon at his office downtown. Butch was in his 50s, gray-haired, with the kind of steady competence that comes from handling other people's disasters for decades. I showed him Davy's photographs and financial documents. He studied everything carefully, taking notes, asking detailed questions about our marriage, our assets, our separate and joint finances. "How much of this hidden income are we talking about?" he asked. "Davy estimates maybe 40,000 over the past year. Could be more." "That's significant, especially if she's been underreporting for tax purposes." Butch leaned back in his chair. "Here's what you need to understand, Evan. In a divorce, honesty matters. The spouse who's been deceptive, who's been hiding assets, who's been conducting affairs, they don't fare well in court. What should I do? Document everything. Secure your own finances. Don't do anything that could be construed as vindictive or illegal. Let her hang herself with her own rope. And if she tries to claim I was having an affair with her sister?" Butch raised an eyebrow. "Are you?" "No, but we've been spending time together, working on this community project. Lianne's already making insinuations. Then make sure everything you do is above board and well documented. If you're working on legitimate city business with Paige, make sure there's a paper trail. Keep it professional, keep it public, keep it clean." That evening, Lianne announced she'd be out late again. Another business meeting with Mitch and some potential investors. "This could be big, Evan," she said, checking her appearance in the hallway mirror. "Really big, life-changing big." "I'm sure it will be," I said. After she left, I sat in my living room, looking around at the house we'd built together, the life we'd shared, the future we'd planned. All of it felt like someone else's memories now, like I was looking at artifacts from a civilization I'd once belonged to, but could no longer understand. My phone buzzed. Text from Paige. "How are the design mock-ups looking? Any changes needed?" I studied the message, thinking about Butch's advice, about keeping things professional and documented. Then I thought about the way Paige had looked at my project plans, the enthusiasm in her voice when she talked about changing lives, the genuine respect she'd shown for work that my own wife dismissed as paper shuffling. "They're perfect," I texted back. "Want to present them together at the city council meeting next week?" "Really? You'd want me there?" "You designed half the presentation. You should get the credit." "I'd love that. Thank you." I set the phone down and smiled for the first time in weeks. Maybe Lianne was right about one thing. Big changes were coming, just not the ones she was expecting. The city council meeting was scheduled for Thursday evening. Paige and I spent Tuesday afternoon doing a final run-through of our presentation, making sure every detail was perfect. We met at the library, public, professional, well-documented, just like Butch had advised. "You nervous?" Paige asked as we packed up our materials. "A little." "You?" "Terrified. I've never presented to city council before." "You'll be great. This is your design as much as mine now." She smiled, and I felt that warmth again, that sense of partnership I'd forgotten was possible. When was the last time Lianne had looked at me like that? Like I was someone worth believing in? That evening, Lianne came home early for once, but she seemed distracted, agitated. She kept checking her phone, frowning at messages I couldn't see. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Fine. Just some business complications. Nothing I can't handle." "Anything I can help with?" She looked at me like I'd offered to perform brain surgery. "I don't think municipal paperwork skills are going to be much use here, Evan." Wednesday morning, Davy called. "Thought you should know," he said. "Your wife and her boyfriend had a pretty heated argument yesterday afternoon. Outside his gym, lots of witnesses. Couldn't hear what it was about, but she stormed off looking pretty upset." "Trouble in paradise?" "Could be. Or could be they're arguing about you. Either way, thought you should be aware." That evening, Lianne's friends Jessica and Morgan came over for what they called a strategy session. I retreated to my home office, but our house isn't that big. I could hear their conversation through the thin walls. "You need to be smart about this," Jessica was saying. "If you're going to make a move, you need to protect yourself first." "I know that," Lianne snapped. "I'm not stupid." "Then why are you letting him get close to your sister?" Morgan's voice, sharp with concern. "That's playing with fire, Lianne." "Paige isn't a threat. She's a loser, just like him. Let them console each other." "That's exactly the kind of thinking that gets you screwed in divorce court," Jessica said. "He's documenting everything now, I guarantee it. You need to be documenting too." They knew. Somehow, they knew I was preparing for divorce. "What kind of documenting?" Lianne asked. "Pictures, witnesses, evidence of inappropriate behavior. If you can prove he's having an affair with your sister, you're in a much stronger position." "He's not having an affair with Paige. They're just working on some stupid city project." "Are you sure?" "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks pretty convenient. Wife starts building her own life. Suddenly husband is spending all his time with wife's attractive younger sister." There was a long pause. Then Lianne said, "You think I should follow them?" "I think you should protect yourself, whatever that takes." Thursday evening arrived gray and drizzly, typical October weather. I met Paige at City Hall an hour before the meeting to set up our presentation. She looked professional in a dark blue dress and jacket, her hair pulled back, carrying herself with quiet confidence. "Ready for this?" I asked. "Ready as I'll ever be." The council chambers filled up as meeting time approached. Municipal politics in a mid-sized city aren't exactly spectator sports, but the East Side Community Center had generated some interest. I saw familiar faces from the neighborhood, a few reporters from the local paper, city staff I worked with regularly. I also saw Lianne slip in just before the meeting started, taking a seat in the back. She had her phone out, and I realized with a chill that she was probably recording everything. "Ladies and gentlemen," Council Chair Patricia Williams announced, "we'll now hear from Evan Porter regarding the proposed East Side Community Development Project." Paige and I moved to the front. I handled the technical aspects, budget, timeline, municipal requirements. Paige presented the design elements, the community impact, the vision for how the space would serve families and children. She was brilliant, clear, passionate, professional. The council members asked thoughtful questions, nodded approvingly at her responses. This wasn't just a presentation anymore, it was a partnership, and everyone in the room could see it. "Thank you both," Chair Williams said when we finished. "This is exactly the kind of collaborative, community-focused project we need to see more of. We'll vote on funding at next month's meeting, but I think I speak for the council when I say this looks very promising." Applause filled the chamber. Paige and I shook hands with council members, accepted congratulations from community representatives, fielded questions from the reporters. "Evan," one of the reporters, Sarah Chen from the Cedar Rapids Gazette, approached with her notebook out. "Can you tell us about the collaboration with Ms. Porter? How did you two come to work together?" Paige brought a designer's perspective to what had been purely a technical proposal, I said carefully. Her insights into community needs and visual presentation have been invaluable. "And Ms. Porter, what drew you to this project?" Paige glanced at me, then back at the reporter. Evan's vision for serving underserved communities really resonated with me. This isn't just about building a playground, it's about building connections, creating opportunities, showing people they matter. More questions, more photos, more handshakes. When it was finally over, Paige and I walked out together into the drizzly evening. "That was amazing," she said. "I can't believe we actually pulled that off." "You pulled it off. I just provided the paperwork." "Don't sell yourself short. That was teamwork." We stood under the streetlight outside City Hall, rain misting around us, and I felt something shift. Not just between us, but inside me. For the first time in months, I felt like myself again. Competent, valued, part of something meaningful. "Evan." Paige's voice was quiet. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "What are you going to do? About Lianne, I mean, about your marriage." I looked at her. Really looked at her. Kind eyes, genuine concern, someone who saw value in the work I did and the person I was. Someone who treated me like a partner instead of an obstacle. "I don't know yet," I said honestly. "But I know things can't continue the way they are." She nodded. "Whatever you decide, you should know. You deserve better than how she treats you. You deserve someone who sees what I see." "What do you see?" "Someone worth believing in." The drive home felt like traveling between two different worlds. The world where I was respected, valued, part of something important. And the world where I was a loser, married to a woman who was planning to leave me for her gym owner boyfriend. Lianne was waiting when I got home, sitting at the kitchen table with her laptop open and that cold smile she wore when she thought she had the upper hand. "Nice presentation tonight," she said. "You were there?" "Of course I was there. Wouldn't want to miss my husband's big moment. You and Paige make quite a team." The way she said it made it sound dirty, inappropriate, like something to be ashamed of instead of proud of. "We worked well together," I said carefully. "I'll bet you did. Very collaborative, very hands-on." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I have eyes, Evan. I can see what's happening here. My husband, my sister, working late into the night, presenting together, looking at each other like—" She shook her head. "It's pathetic, really." The hypocrisy was breathtaking. "You want to talk about inappropriate relationships?" Her expression sharpened. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means maybe you should worry less about my working relationship with your sister and more about your own professional conduct." We stared at each other across the kitchen table, 8 years of marriage reduced to this. Mutual suspicion, barely contained hostility, the pretense of caring finally stripped away. "I think," Lianne said slowly, "that we need to have a serious conversation about the future of this marriage." "I think you're right," I said. But as I headed upstairs, I was already thinking about Butch Reed's advice, about Davy's photographs, about the evidence of financial deception sitting in my desk drawer. Lianne thought she was ready for this conversation. She had no idea what was coming. Friday morning, Lianne was gone before I woke up. She'd left another note. "Spending the day with Mitch, finalizing some business plans. We need to talk when I get home tonight." I called in sick to work, first time in 2 years, and drove to Butch Reed's office. "She's accelerating the timeline," I told him, spreading Davy's latest surveillance photos across his desk. "I think she's planning to file first, try to control the narrative." Butch studied the new evidence. More hotel visits, more intimate moments captured on camera, and something new, photos of Lianne and Mitch at what looked like a real estate office. "They're looking at property together," Butch observed. "That suggests long-term planning." "How long-term?" "Hard to say, but if they're shopping for a place together, she's probably been planning this exit for longer than we thought." He leaned back in his chair. "The good news is, this level of planning actually helps your case. Shows premeditation, deception, financial planning that excludes you." "What's the bad news?" "The bad news is she's probably going to come at you hard tonight. Try to make you the villain, maybe accuse you of having an affair with her sister. You need to be ready. I spent the afternoon preparing, secured my personal bank accounts, made copies of all important documents, packed a bag in case I needed to leave the house quickly. Then I called Paige. "Can you meet me for coffee?" I asked. "I need to tell you something important." We met at Murphy's Cafe, the same place where we'd first talked honestly about our lives, our struggles, our dreams. She looked worried when she saw my expression. "What's wrong?" she asked. I told her everything. About the affair, about the financial deception, about the divorce I was planning to file, about Lianne's accusations and her friend's advice to document inappropriate behavior. Paige listened without interrupting, her expression shifting from shock to sadness to something that might have been relief. "I'm sorry," she said when I finished. "I'm sorry you're going through this, and I'm sorry my sister is the person she apparently is. You don't need to apologize for her, don't I? She's my family. I've watched her treat you terribly for years and never said anything. I've let her make me feel small and worthless, and I've watched her do the same to you. Paige, no, let me finish. What I said the other night, about you deserving better, I meant it. You're kind, you're decent, you care about people and about doing good work. Lianne doesn't see that, but I do." We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of everything unsaid hanging between us. "What happens now?" Paige asked. "I don't know. Divorce, obviously. But beyond that," I shrugged. "I guess I figure out how to rebuild." "Alone?" The question hung in the air. I looked at Paige, really looked at her, at the woman who'd believed in my work, who'd partnered with me on something meaningful, who'd shown me what it felt like to be valued again. "I hope not," I said quietly. Her smile was like sunrise. "Good. Because I hope not too." That evening, I waited for Lianne to come home. I'd moved the financial documents and photographs to Butch's office for safekeeping, but I had copies ready. Whatever conversation she wanted to have, I was prepared. She arrived at 8:30, and she wasn't alone. Mitch was with her. They came into the house like they owned it, Mitch's presence filling the space with aggressive confidence. He was bigger than I'd expected. 6'2", gym-built shoulders, the kind of guy who took up space just because he could. "Evan," Lianne said, her voice artificially bright, "I'd like you to meet Mitch Dorset. Mitch, this is my husband." Mitch extended his hand with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Heard a lot about you, man." I shook his hand briefly. "I'm sure you have." We gathered in the living room, this bizarre parody of a social visit. Mitch sat close to Lianne on the couch, his arm draped casually across the back, marking his territory. I took the chair across from them. "So," Lianne said, "I think it's time we all put our cards on the table." "I agree," I said. "Good, because Mitch and I have been talking, and we think there's a way to handle this situation that works for everyone." "Handle what situation?" "Our marriage, Evan. The fact that we've grown apart, that we want different things, that we're both ready to move on." "Both of us?" "Oh, please. Don't pretend you haven't been moving on with my sister. The late-night work sessions, the cozy presentations, the way you look at each other. It's obvious to everyone." Mitch leaned forward. "Look, man, no judgment here. These things happen. People grow apart, find new connections. The important thing is handling it maturely." The condescension was staggering. This man who'd been sleeping with my wife for months was lecturing me about maturity. "You're right," I said. "Maturity is important. So is honesty." "Exactly," Lianne said. "Which is why we should all be honest about what's really happening here. You found someone new, I've found someone new. We can make this easy on everyone." "Easy how?" "Simple divorce, no fault, split the assets fairly and move on. You get the house. I know how much it means to you. I'll take my business assets. We'll call it even." I almost laughed. She was offering me the house I'd paid for while planning to keep the business assets she'd been hiding from me. "That's very generous," I said. but I think we should probably involve lawyers, make sure everything's handled properly. Something flickered in Lianne's eyes. Lawyers just complicate things, make everything more expensive and ugly. Maybe. Or maybe they make sure everything's fair and legal. Mitch's friendly mask slipped a little. You planning to make this difficult, Evan? I'm planning to make sure it's done right. Look, Lianne said, her voice taking on an edge. I'm trying to be reasonable here, but if you want to play hardball, if you want to drag my sister into this and make accusations about my business relationships, we can do that too. Just remember, I have friends, I have documentation, and I have a lot more to lose than you do. What kind of documentation? The kind that shows a pattern of inappropriate behavior between you and Paige. Late-night meetings, intimate conversations, emotional affair that's been going on for months. An emotional affair? At minimum, and if we dig deeper, if we really examine the timeline and the circumstances, she shrugged. Well, juries can be unpredictable. The threat was clear. If I fought the divorce, if I tried to expose her affair or her financial deception, she'd destroy Paige's reputation and mine. I see, I said. I hope you do, because Paige doesn't deserve to be hurt by this. She's been through enough already, don't you think? Using her sister as leverage, using Paige's kindness and vulnerability as a weapon against me. It was masterful in its cruelty. You're right, I said. Paige doesn't deserve to be hurt. Lianne smiled, thinking she'd won. So we're in agreement? Simple divorce, clean split, everyone moves on with their lives? Actually, I said, I have a different proposal. I reached into my jacket and pulled out a small velvet box. Paige, I called toward the kitchen, could you come in here for a minute? Lianne's face went white. What are you? Paige appeared in the doorway, and I realized she'd been waiting, listening, preparing for this moment just like I had. Paige, I said, standing up and turning toward her. I know this isn't the most romantic setting, but I can't wait any longer. I dropped to one knee, opened the box, and looked up at the woman who'd shown me what partnership really meant. Will you marry me? Paige's smile lit up the room. Yes, she said without hesitation. Yes, absolutely yes. I slipped the ring onto her finger, stood up, and kissed her while Lianne made a sound like a strangled cat. You snake, she whispered. Actually, I said, turning back to her, I think you'll find I'm exactly what you called me, a loser who was lucky enough to find someone who sees my worth. This is fraud, Mitch sputtered. This is what happens, I said calmly, when you underestimate people. I pulled out my phone and showed them a video file. Paige has been helping me document everything for the past month. Every late night you spent with Mitch, every financial transaction you tried to hide, every cruel thing you said about your sister and me. Lianne's face went from white to red. You recorded us? We documented our own experiences. Paige started recording your conversations after you made it clear you were using her as a weapon against me. Amazing what people will say when they think they're talking to someone powerless. You can't use that in court, Mitch said. Maybe not all of it, but enough of it, combined with the financial records, the photographs, the witness statements. I shrugged. Well, like you said, juries can be unpredictable. Lianne stood up abruptly. This isn't over. Actually, it is. Butch Reed will be filing divorce papers Monday morning. You'll be served by Tuesday. I suggest you get a good lawyer, because you're going to need one. You think you've won something here? She spat. You think this is some kind of victory? You're still the same pathetic loser you always were, and she's still the same failure I always knew she was. Paige stepped forward, and for the first time in years, I heard steel in her voice. You're right about one thing, Lianne. I was a failure. As a sister, as a person, as someone who should have stood up to you years ago. But I'm not that person anymore. Oh, please. I'm not finished. You called us losers, but we're not the ones who threw away a good marriage for a gym owner with a steroid problem. We're not the ones who betrayed family, who lied and cheated and stole. We're not the ones who are about to lose everything because we couldn't see the value in what we already had. Lianne looked between us, seeing something she hadn't expected. Two people who'd found strength in each other, who'd become more together than they'd ever been apart. "This is insane," she said finally. "No," I said. "This is justice." After they left, Paige and I sat on the couch, her head on my shoulder, both of us shaking from adrenaline and relief, and the simple joy of being honest about what we felt. "Was that real?" she asked, looking at the ring on her finger. "The realest thing I've done in years. Even though it's going to be messy, even though people will talk. Especially because of that. I'm tired of living small, Paige. I'm tired of being ashamed of wanting something better." She turned to look at me. "I love you, you know. Not just because you saved me from Lianne. Not just because you see value in my work. I love you because you're good and kind, and you make me want to be better than I am." "I love you too," I said. "I think I have for months. I just didn't let myself admit it." We sat in the quiet of the house that would soon be just mine, planning a future that would be ours, and I realized that sometimes the best revenge isn't hurting the people who hurt you. Sometimes the best revenge is building something so much better than what they destroyed that their betrayal becomes the best thing that ever happened to you.